Welcome to the Red, White, New podcast. Tommy Daniels along with Barry Janssen. Barry has a blog and, of course, has had a blog for many, many years. Welcome to the 21-22 season. I like, by the way, Barry had glasses on before we went on the air. I like that look. I think you should go with that more. You almost look like Clark Kent. Now you're Superman.
That's right. Yeah, they're reading glasses. When you get to be 74, you start needing some help.
Well, they look sharp on you. Hey, let's talk about the season to date. I know you were gone for a little bit hunting in Minnesota, but you always keep up with what's going on. What are your thoughts through the first handful of games?
Well, it was kind of disappointing, obviously, not only losing, but the way they lost those games. I don't know that I have a good understanding at this point. One of the things I did in the blog, which I found kind of interesting, is I added up average points per game for Chad, Jack, and Spencer over their ECHL careers, and it was 3.56 points per game. Well, they're ahead of that. So the top line is certainly producing offensively. I think where we're really struggling is defensively. I think the last time I checked in average goals allowed per game, we were dead last. Or maybe it was shots, we were dead last, and goals, we were 25th. So I think that's where we need to tighten up. And of course, Eric Roy was out, Neen's been out, Baloo still, isn't 100%, even though he's playing. Lockhead is still out from his injury last year. So, I think we're going to get a whole lot better defensively. And the other thing is, I know Marty kind of figured he's going to have two lines that are really top scoring lines. And as he described to me, that third line is going to be the ass kicking line. And, I'm wondering if, he might need to look at creating more offense out of the third line. I mean, he typically has had three lines that can all score, and that's been the formula to success. But he spends an inordinate amount of time trying to improve the team. And I'm pretty sure he's, out there seeing what's available and, trying to create even a better team, as he does every year. This isn't anything unique. This is what he always does.
It's true, Barry, and so many guys went to Europe. There's going to be some guys who aren't happy in their situation where they are. Looking at Jack Combs, who was in Europe and decided to come here. You kind of get the feeling that there might be more of those guys that are out there and available, which is, hey, that's what it is in this level. You're constantly tweaking your lineup. It's not like the NHL where when you have your lineup, you're going to bring a guy in from the American Hockey League, one of your prospects here. You don't have another league to pull prospects from. So anytime you're bringing a guy in, there's a guy going out and there's a guy coming in. The case with, Bobo coming back, Alexis Grabel, the odd man out there in that situation, for him, that first game obviously was very, very tough. He bounced back in the second game, made some big saves and got the team to win. But, when you've got a Marat and you've got a Bobo, there's only room for two goaltenders on a team to get playing time. You knew he was going to be the odd man out in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exciting to have Bobo in Allen. I mean, here's a guy that's been a pro for 7 years. He was an AHL All-Star, I think it was 16, 17. And his stats are like really great. So, I know Marty has quoted, you had it in your press release, he's the best goalie or could be the best goalie in the league. So that's going to be a big help having him along with Marat. So that's good. The other thing I wrote about yesterday in my blog was, Chad Butcher has left his team in Sweden. He was playing with Corey Mackin, and is headed back to North America. So, there's a possibility he could come here. If he continues to play hockey, he's only 25, so I can't believe he's not interested in continuing to play pro hockey. Martinson qualified him along with a lot of those other guys that went to Europe, just for this case that he's got his rights if he comes back. So it'll be interesting to see if anything gets worked out with Butcher. He'd certainly be a good addition to the roster.
There's not a week that goes by, and we haven't had many here so far, and I had 4 this week from fans that email me and say, what about Les Lancaster? How can we lure him back in? Well, first of all, he went to Europe for a reason, an opportunity after I think he was the MVP last year. No doubt about what he did, offensive numbers as a defenseman. I thought he and Carroll were the perfect combination, one of the best defensive defensemen in the league and the top offensive defenseman in the league. Let's be honest, when you have an opportunity, and we saw Chad do that, you have an opportunity to go over to Europe and make money after playing in this league and doing okay for this level, but not the money you're going to make in Europe. You can't blame him for taking advantage of that opportunity.
Well, and knowing from what I understand, he got a 2-year deal, and he went to one of the best leagues in Europe. So it's not like some of these guys go to fairly low-level leagues and don't make a whole lot more money than they make here. But Les got a really good deal and is doing really well. He's almost a point-a-game guy as a defenseman in a top league in Europe. So he's not coming back anytime soon. I think the sad part, I was actually talking to Martinson about this yesterday, is if he would have stayed here with the dilution of talent, he'd be in the ECHL now. Marty truly believes that, and I think so too. And if he was ever given a chance at that level, there's no doubt he would have been successful. So, but I'm happy for him. He's doing really well in Europe. So let's hopefully that will continue. By the way, Tyler Sheehy is the other player who's playing in a top league in the DEL in Germany. And the last I looked, he had 11 goals in 13 games, and I think he was second in the DEL in goals. So both of those guys playing in top-notch leagues are doing really well.
Last but not least, 2 games this weekend. Wichita on Friday. I think we always know it's going to be a battle. The Americans have played well in that building there. Then Kansas City on Saturday. I think Americans fans would be disappointed if they came home with anything less than 3 points, maybe picking up an overtime point somewhere. But, if you look at the standings and you look at the tough stretch coming up, you have 2 trips out west, Rapid City and Idaho right there before Thanksgiving. And of course, into Thanksgiving, you better take advantage of the opportunity this weekend.
Yeah. I wrote a couple days ago about.
Might be a trade breaking right
Sorry.
there somewhere.
I wrote a couple of, I wrote about this thing that I've written about for several years, that 80% of your playoff teams are decided by Thanksgiving. In other words, if you're not in a playoff spot on Thanksgiving Day, there's an 80% chance you won't be in the playoffs. And of course, I know the team's not happy with the 4-game homestand. And November is, I think it's 9 of 11 games are on the road. So this is going to be an important month. And then Wichita, the other thing I wrote about today was how much parity early in the season there is in the Mountain Division. Every team, with the exception of Wichita, is between 500 and 667 points percentage. Wichita is at, I think, 250. They've only won 1 game. However, that was a 7-0 shutout of Allen on opening night. So yeah. Hopefully the boys have some incentive to do well up there, and then head to Kansas City, which interestingly, I'm sure you've noticed, Kansas City's the highest penalty minute team in the league right now.
Yes.
So should be a couple of interesting games this weekend.
No doubt Jesse Mitchin will want to have a little something to say about his former team being in town. You mentioned Wichita too. Just one last note on them. Obviously, one of the youngest teams in the league. And so obviously Bruce Ramsey looking to experiment with some young players. And, for Allen, they've got that veteran presence. You would think that would bode well. especially with a couple of former Wichita Thunder players, although briefly, Eric Roy and Jack Combs going back there this weekend. I can't wait. Looking forward to a couple good games. We'll be broadcasting them, of course, from here in Allen, not making this road trip. So tune in. We'll be on with the pregame show half an hour beforehand, 7:05 puck drop. And then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Barry, good to see you. If I don't see you before, happy Thanksgiving.
Hey, same to you. Thanks, Tommy. Take care.
All right, this is a Red, White, U podcast coming up next. Allen American's head coach, Steve Martinson.
In a world where coworkers have begun commingling, face-to-face encounters are unavoidable and family reunions are inevitable, My Labs Direct brings you the answer to the biggest question in the world as we know it today. Got antibodies? Whether you're at the backyard barbecue, at work, or visiting your in-laws, you will hear, got antibodies?
Do you have antibodies?
I don't know. Do you have antibodies?
How would I know if I have antibodies?
Do I need antibodies? I mean, I want antibodies.
Well, I have the vaccine. Do I need antibodies?
I have antibodies. Do I need the vaccine?
Kiss me. I have antibodies.
Listen up. Got antibodies? MyLabsDirect.com has your answer. Your 100% accurate results are available right now. Visit us 7 days a week and find out if you have antibodies today. No insurance required. MyLabsDirect.com.
MyLabsDirect.com. Anytime, anywhere.
Tommy Daniels here with Allen American's head coach, Steve Martinson. First of all, nice sweater that you've got on there. Is that a sweater or a pullover? What is that?
No, it's just a t-shirt. I think it's last year's playoff t-shirt. So
Nice. Hey, today, it doesn't happen very often when a big time star gets traded in any sport, but Jack Eichel traded today to the Vegas Golden Knights. You were playing, right, when Gretzky got traded. Does that blow your mind when you see somebody that big of a name that just gets dealt away?
well, obviously there's a lot that goes into it when when you're trading not only a star, but a cornerstone of your team. And, when you look at it, you'd have to really break it down because it's multiple players. Usually, the team with depth can afford to give up, X amount for one guy. And, it's a trade that I don't really like to make because, it's hard to get superstars. So, I haven't broken down the trade, Tommy, but, I think there's been a lot of rift between the two, and it might've been to the point where, hey, we got to move this guy, but we got to make sure that we get the right trade.
We get a chance to go on the road this weekend, first road trip of the season. I know you and I talked the other day and you said, hey, look, we didn't get a chance to play a preseason game. So our guys are basically still trying to go through preseason, catch up, training camp, and get to where some of these other teams are. Do you kind of feel like maybe that this weekend might be the coming out party we're all expecting?
Yeah, well, this isn't an excuse. I mean, we shot ourselves in the foot. The difference in the shots on, goal where they blocked 47 shots to our 14. I thought they played a much better defensive game. The preseason games, they hurt you and you don't really see the guys that need to work on certain things. And, it was all our power play guys need to play better defensively and just, it starts in the offensive zone where we're cheating and being on the wrong side of guys when we don't have possession of the puck. So, we addressed that now for 2 weeks and one way or the other, it's stopping this weekend, whether guys have to, it starts with power play time. But, the other thing that they had so many contracted guys, they were in camp 3 weeks earlier. So they were ahead of us and they looked ahead of us. Their top players were ahead of us and, they were better than we were. So, we've got to make sure that we're not shooting ourselves in the foot to start.
There's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz yesterday about Anton Bibeau coming to Allen. Obviously you've seen him. Give us your scouting report on what he's going to bring to our lineup.
Well, he's just a big, strong, solid goalie. I mean, he looks like he could be a tough guy. He's a big, strong guy. He's strong. He's got a good, really, really good build. And so, he's a pro, he's serious. And when you see a goalie that's in that kind of shape, that's the first thing I think about is, the guy's doing everything he can to give himself the best chance to be, top goalie. But he's a big guy, takes up a lot of space. But like I said, he's big and he moves well. And we got to just make sure that, you know, if we just, you know, play a solid game and not give up the odd man rush and not give up the easy scoring chance.
It's not often in this league that you get a goaltender that has NHL experience unless he's on the downside of his career. And, you know, he's still young and he has 2 games played, you know, in the NHL with the Colorado Avalanche. It's got to mean something to that kid, the fact that he's played at the highest level now and trying to work his way back up that way.
Well, that's, you know, I mean, that's where goalies can play longer, especially, you know, especially when you're strong and in shape. And he, you know, he's kind of like the build of Price in Montreal. I heard he was, you know, big, strong, strapping guy. And so, yeah, I mean, you know, he's still the fourth. We just never usually see the fourth goalie in an organization. And because they don't have, you know, a draft, you know, a pipeline of draft picks, you know, he's probably looking at being one of their key guys again next year, you know, when they go down to their own affiliates. So he's playing for a lot. And, you know, the benefit for us is we get a, you know, really experienced top number 1 goalie.
We have the experienced guys in the Asachuk, the Troop, the Combs, Costello, but we have a lot of young guys in the lineup too. How long does it usually take for guys like Jerome and Butt and Burnside, some of those young guys, until they get accustomed to coming from college or juniors to the pros?
Well, you know, it depends on how complete the player you are. I mean, we should be able to, the style that we play, they shouldn't need a lot of gelling. And then the other thing is, you know, they're typically playing this year, they're typically playing against rookies from other, you know, from other teams. So, you know, we need those guys to make plays and score goals like they're capable of doing, but it starts with our top guys being plus and outplaying the lines that they're playing against.
And Eric Roy back in the lineup this weekend. I know we had a good start. I mean, he obviously scored a goal and was, you know, one of our most productive players, you know, through the first 2 games until, you know, getting hurt. That's got to be a good sign too. You get one of your top 2 defensemen back.
Yeah, well, we didn't shoot the puck very good from the point. You know, we're missing his shot for sure. And, you know, and Bo's still, you know, we're hoping Bo's 100%. And I think Neen might be back by the following weekend. So we get our 3 best shooters back in the lineup, which I think has a little bit to do with the block shots and guys that have, you know, maybe a little higher probability of getting the puck through.
Marty was talking to Barry earlier, Barry Janssen, about, you know, guys in Europe. Some guys don't like it there. They'll end up leaving. Any possibility you think we might get a player or 2 coming to us from Europe?
Well, for sure, Butcher, you know, his mom was in just a terrible car accident. So he's going to be home for, I think, at least another week and a half. I expect him. I think he's going to meet us in Rapid City. And you know, our fans got to, you know, it's tough. His mom, I think his mom's, you know, is in the hospital and is not in good shape. So hoping the best for him. And then, you know, I'm dealing with another vet right now that's in Europe that's interested in coming back. And, you know, yeah, there's guys that, you know, sometimes Europe's not for everybody. I went to Europe with a roller hockey tour and I have absolutely zero interest in going back. But I'm kind of a redneck and, you know, S kicker. So I'm not really a guy that wants to tour around and I've lived, you know, for 17 years, I lived 70 miles from Chicago and I've never gone in there once. So.
Again, this brings me to, this will be the last question. Of all the places you played, and there's been a bunch of places you traveled, coached, what's your most favorite stop other than Allen on your hockey tour?
Well, in our division, I like Boise. You know, everything's right there. They have a gym they have a 24-hour fitness. They might have changed the name, but they have a gym, really nice gym right in the hotel. And they got a Trader Joe's right next door. And, you know, everything is right there in the rink. So that's, you know, going back, you know, back in the old days, you know, I can't really, doesn't really come to mind, but certainly and I like going to Toledo because I played there. Toledo's another nice setup. You know, everything's right downtown and everything's right there, but definitely I think Boise is my favorite spot on the road.
All right, Marty, thanks a lot for doing this. Good luck this weekend.
Sure. Thanks, Tommy.